Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering from ELD's Time Vault Games in Bellingham, Mass. We're starting out here with Pyle Souza on Hogaak. He had a Stitcher Supplier, and now he is flashing back Cabal Therapy off of it. Kind of an ideal opening for both players so far. Delver of Secrets on the other side, and now Hedron Crab milling additional cards. This is looking very, very good for Pyle against his, I guess, nemesis here, Lucas. They've had a real back and forth situation. Lucas, a former Pro Tour competitor. Pyle, a local kind of 1K player, does a lot of trading, does very well, very similar to how I used to interact in the community. And these Vengevines, along with Carrion Feeder, wrapping things up in a hurry. Talk about fast effect. That game's over before I even get done introducing the players. Vengevine coming back super fast there in a really near ideal draw. Blue-White Delver. We'll see what type of sideboard options Lucas has to hate out the graveyard. Though keep in mind, you still have to contend with the other elements of the deck. A 4-mana, 4-power haste creature. Really not that bad on its own. I mean, Vengevine is obviously super busted when you're recurring it from the graveyard or just getting it the first time from the graveyard. But if you do, for example, have things completely locked out as far as graveyard lines go, they can still potentially get you on board. There are some graveyard strategies where if you mulled to 0 or mulled to 1 and have a ley line, you'd be fine. And that is simply not the case with Hogaak. I mean, it's extremely potent. Probably not going to cast a Hogaak without a graveyard, but certainly Bloodghast, Vengevine, Carrion Feeder, Stitcher Supplier, Hedron Crab, they're all castable. Pyle does a lot of trading Magic cards as well. Can be seen at, of course, our weekly events here. This is one of our, I think this was a Wednesday night. I think this was our most recent Wednesday. Also got a little scene going down at Game King in Fall River. They have a proxy legacy event that they're just getting started. We are non-proxy here at Time Vault. We do have decks that people can borrow if they want to get into the format. But Legacy, I think, is really just an excellent kind of end goal for Magic players. I mean, right now, it occupies the space that Vintage used to occupy. Every serious Magic player back in the day in New England was kind of on a path toward getting full power, full set of duels. You know, you were going to end up with a Lotus and, you know, all of the Moxes, all of that. That was just kind of part of it. You wanted the ability to play any format at any time. Whenever there were good prizes, you were able to show up. And I think at this stage, Legacy has kind of taken that spot away from Vintage. Vintage more niche now. And I think at this stage, Legacy is kind of the top of the mountain in terms of the variety of decks that you can play. The power level is really good, and there are a lot of great events for it. We see Pyle mulling down to 5 into a Cabal Therapy. Lucas is going to respond with a Brainstorm, and the first minigame begins. What cards to hide? This Cabal Therapy almost certainly going to be flashed back pretty quickly, as long as Pyle's hand's any good at all. And it looks like a Lavinia could be pretty close to game over here. She is very, very problematic for all of the spells that you're not casting mana on. So, well, I guess we'll see. I mean, it stops Hogaak. It stops your Cabal Therapies. And it eats an Assassin's Trophy, so we will not see. It's quickly brushed aside. Oh, Lucas kind of signaling he might actually have force, and he does. Certainly selling the narrative there if he didn't. So Assassin's Trophy getting forced. Lavinia coming in for 2. Wasteland setting pile back a land. And now during the upkeep, it looks like a quick turn there for pile. Sword of Fire and Ice has been found with Stoneforge Mystic. 2 more damage coming in. Lucas considered whether or not to cast a cantrip. Instead, he's just going to look to get that Sword of Fire and Ice in during the end step and untap with complete control over the game. Pile ready to move on to game number 3 on the play, hoping for some better luck there. Mulling to 5, no match to Lavinia plus Stoneforge Mystic. Got into kind of a new setup here yet again at Time Vault, always playing around, trying to improve the setting and the layout. We've been having some incredibly good turnouts. Super grateful to the community. We had 63 players here for our last Team Trio event, and we actually have our first ever Unified Legacy coming up. That's going to be March 1st. And you have a team of 3 legacy decks. All 3 decks, of course, have to be legal legacy decks. And we're going under the old school unified rules. And what that means is when you shuffle all 3 decks together, it would still be a legal deck. Now, that varies from the current unified rules, which say if a deck plays a card, no one else on the team is allowed to play that card, which I don't like that rule, so I'm not doing it that way. We're going back to the old school way. If you play a single surgical extraction, that doesn't make sense to me. That another teammate shouldn't be able to play a copy of that card. Very interested to see the types of decks that people come up with. Only one of the decks at the table can be a Force of Will deck. Maybe that opens up things for combo decks, but again, for combo, you only have 1 set of Lotus Petals. So a very interesting unsolved format, and hopefully we get a good turnout and we can see a whole bunch of Team Unified Legacy events as well. Hedron Crab off of Marsh Flats gets that Underground Sea. Oh, and no second fetch. But we do have a landfall. And Lucas without a onboard way of interacting with the graveyard. We've got Carrion Feeder along with Gravecrawler. That can escalate pretty quickly. Carrion Feeder, a zombie, can essentially pay 1 black to get +1/+1 permanently. Getting those counters in there, and Lucas firing off a Brainstorm. Tanking on this. Situation's looking a little rough here. It's going to be 3 damage coming in. And kind of the worst thing Kyle can do with his mana is recur this Gravecrawler. Hedron Crab, just a super awesome Magic card. Really happy it's getting its due. And Rest in Peace. Three damage coming in. Force of Vigor during the end step. Or during the upkeep, perhaps. Gonna take away that rest in peace. Lucas considering whether to throw out a Hail Mary Brainstorm. If he can find a Force of Will, he can keep this rest in peace on board. And he's going to do exactly that. We see a Spell Pierce. Oh, and that is rough. Force of Vigor, very much free. Pyle has the 2 mana that he could pay, and he is unlocked. The Graveyard is most likely path to victory. Oh, he did that during the upkeep. Lucas has another rest in peace. That's going to feel absolutely awful. And he's got a Lavinia. Careful study. Lavinia not going to interact with that. Bridge from below. We've got some fetch land. Fetching, getting 6 cards into the graveyard. 1 bridge from below so far. And zombie tokens. Are arriving. Now Vengevine coming in. And Lucas with his sideboard card. Just gonna go ahead and chump block prior to the bridges being exiled, Gravecrawler being thrown into the bin, and Lucas in desperation mode here, facing down lethal damage. He ponders. And that is not going to do. So Pyle taking it down in 3 with this powerful brew. That is Hogaak. That is all for this one, but don't worry, there is a lot more. You can check out our older videos, and we're always putting out new videos from ELD's Time Vault games in Bellingham, Massachusetts. If you want to help the channel, of course, you can like, subscribe, share, tap that notification bell so you can know the next time our new videos come out. Thanks for watching.